Hi. I'm going to show you how to make chicken and dumplings, and it's much easier to show you than it is to try and write down a recipe. So here we go. I'll give you the tour of the ingredients. Here we've got a pot of boiling water for the dumplings, a pot, well, a fryer for the chicken, and I have 1 tablespoon of oil, give or take, just enough to coat the bottom so stuff doesn't stick. Over here I got some mushrooms because I wanted to make it a little different. Chopped up, that's 2 chicken breasts, and a bowl, and there's my eggs, and flour. I'm not really sure how much flour I use, so I'm going to guesstimate. I usually just dump. So I'm going to say, okay, that's like 2.5. Alright, well, let's say that's like 3. Okay, that's a lot. That's about 3.5 cups, give or take. You can use as much as you want. Basically, the recipe is simple. It's flour, salt, eggs, and water. So here's my salt. I'm going to just dump some in. I don't know, about half a teaspoon. That's about what it looks like. Then you just chuck in your eggs. Most of the time you can get away with 2. I like mine extra eggy, so I'm putting in 3. So there's your 3 eggs. Now I'm going to come over here, grab myself a fork, and I try to just scramble up the eggs a little bit right into the flour, and I try to incorporate the egg into the flour before I mix in the water. It's just kind of a me thing. I don't know if anybody else does it. That's how I do it. And then for the water, there's really not a measurement. This whole thing is really not a measurement. This is kind of a grandma recipe. In fact, I got it from my grandma. So you just go in here and you throw in some water. And you mix it around. Basically what you're looking for is, like, see, this is all doughy. You don't want dough. You want kind of like a little bit thicker than pancake batter. So you just put in water. You mix it around. See, I still have a lot of dry stuff in here, but I add water little at a time, because, well, if you overdo it with water, you could just add more flour. And then you just keep doing that. Oh yeah, the other thing I put in, and this is just me, again, you can do whatever you like. I like to throw parsley in there. It just gives it some color. So I got my water boiling over here. Sorry for the camera shakes, but I'm trying to do everything one-handed and show you how to do it. So, okay, well, you see how this is still pretty dry. Back in the sink it goes. And a little bit more. Okay, it looks pretty squishy, right? That's okay. That's the idea. When you see that little bit of squish around the edges, you know you're getting close. But you want to make sure that it's all mixed together. I know, this would be much easier to do if I had 2 hands. Well, now if I lose a hand, I know what I got to deal with. Anyway, you see how now I'm getting pretty much there. You see how it's kind of gloppy, but it's got some consistency. I just want to add just a little bit more, just cause. And my water's going to town, so I'm going to turn that down a little bit. Now all this water does is loosen it up. You see, now that's better. It's pretty loose. You want to incorporate the water best you can. You want to get it all in there. You're going to have some on the outsides. That's normal. Don't want to beat the daylights out of the flour, because the more you beat it, the tougher it gets. So that's pretty much it. Now to make the dumplings, this is the easy part. All I do is grab a spoon, and I make sure that I get the spoon wet, because that lets the dumpling off the edge of the spoon and into the water. And I do that with, I don't know, 10 or 20 of them. So it looks like the bottom's covered. And then you just let it sit for a minute or two. Give them just a little bit of time to firm up. And then I'll go in there with a spoon. And yeah, they're going to stick to the bottom. That's normal. Just a little bit. And the bigger they're going to expand. They're not going to stay the same size as they were when you put them in, because once you put them in water, that just makes them expand even more. So here they're cooking along. And yeah, this is just normal. They're little dough balls. So what I do now is I come along the bottom and I just scrape the bottom. And that'll just loosen anything off. And you know they're done when they float. And then all I do is I scoop them out with a slotted spoon into a dish. To make them even more flavorful, you can actually cook them in half broth, half water, or all broth for that matter. I just do it this way. My mom used to actually cook it in the broth, and then she'd put her chicken into that broth too. But I found it just got too starchy. So I usually cook my dumplings separate so they don't get too starchy. And then if you need to thicken up what you're making, save some of this water, because it's starchy water. And it'll thicken up what you're working with. You can see they're already starting to float. That's all there is to making the dumplings. For the rest of the dish, basically cook your chicken. I'm going to throw in some mushrooms. And then add your dumplings and you're done. I'll pause it and I'll show you what it looks like midway.